They say there are decades where nothing happens, then weeks where decades happen. And lately, it feels like we're living through those weeks. Everything's speeding up, you can see it. The cracks, the chaos, the confusion. And at this point, it's hard to believe it's all just a coincidence. Is it really a coincidence that governments around the world seem incapable of running a country? Or is it deliberate? Because when every Western nation is dealing with the same issues, debt through the roof, housing unaffordable, social tension everywhere, you start to wonder if it's really incompetence or if this has been managed. It almost feels staged. The same problems, the same solutions, the same script. Like we're watching the slow motion collapse of the West and our job is just to sit here and watch it happen. Look around. Nothing feels real anymore. Leaders don't lead, they perform. The media doesn't inform, it scripts. The economy isn't productive, it's debt on display. And the average person, working harder than ever and getting less than ever. Australia's facing an identity crisis. A cultural battle playing out in debates about what a woman is and what it means to be an Australian. The left spent years arguing over one definition, and now the right argues over another. Different words, same distraction. It's all noise that keeps Aussies focused on identity, while the real power moves in the background. Blur the lines and people stop seeing the bigger picture. Because if you're busy fighting over identity, you're not asking who's pulling the strings. The West isn't collapsing by accident. It feels like a decline. A slow dismantling of everything that gave people a sense of stability. Values, culture, family, truth. And every time you question it, you're told you're the problem. Here in Australia, you can see it clearly. In the marches, in the housing market, mass immigration. It doesn't need a long explanation because it's obvious to anyone paying attention. The March for Australia was a big moment. Tens of thousands of people, families, workers, everyday Aussies marching peacefully. And what did the Prime Minister do? Labels it far right. But when people burned the Australian flag at a Palestine protest, that was labelled peaceful. That's the state of things now. If you stand up for your country, you're the enemy. But if you hate it, you get the free pass. Then came the 5% first home buyer scheme. Another lever pulled to keep the illusion going. And of course, house prices shot up again. They said it was to help young Aussies, but it's open to non-residents and non-citizens. It's not about helping Aussies. It's about feeding the banks and propping up the illusion of growth. More fake demand, more fake wealth, more control through debt. Because when you're in debt up to your neck, you're easy to control. They don't need to threaten you with much, just your job or your house. And while they're pretending everything's fine, the streets are getting worse. Victoria's a mess. Stabbings, machete attacks. And what's the response? Ban machetes. As if banning a piece of steel is going to fix the underlying rot. Maybe knives aren't the problem. What's happening here isn't isolated. It mirrors the same instability we're seeing globally. Maybe it's the people wielding them. Maybe the chaos is useful, because chaos gives governments an excuse to tighten the leash. Overseas, it's the same story. Millions marched in the UK against mass immigration. Ignored. Not long after, Keir Starmer announced plans to introduce digital IDs, all under the banner of tackling illegal immigration. The idea is simple. You won't be able to work without a digital ID, and then eventually, you won't be able to access your own money. Control disguised as progress. And here in Australia, digital ID is being ushered in under the same kind of narrative. They're pushing bans on under 16s from using social media, saying it's all about protecting kids. But of course, they're not calling it surveillance, they're calling it child safety. Instead of letting parents take responsibility for their own kids, the government's gaslighting them into thinking that they can't, that they should step in and play parent. They manufacture a problem and then sell the solution. Only this solution isn't about protecting kids, it's about controlling information. Because just like the printing press broke the church's monopoly on knowledge, the internet broke the government's monopoly on narrative, and they hate it. They want the gate back, they want to be the filter again. Digital IDs aren't about safety, it's about shutting the door. And it's not just here. Globally, tensions are boiling over. In the US, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, but it was a reaction from the people that caught my attention. The left openly celebrated the death of a man in front of the world, cheering, making memes, even glorifying it, while the right called for a public execution of the suspect without even going to trial. And now Trump, the so-called man of peace, is floating regime change in Venezuela. Like every war before it, the narrative has already been manufactured. A war on narcotics, a crazed dictator, setting the stage for another forever war. Maybe it's just the excuse they need to hit the print button on the money machine. And while all of this is happening globally, the financial system is pretending everything is fine, printing more money, handing out more loans, keeping the lie alive. Gold has broken records, past 4,000 US an ounce, a sign the system is cracking. It's the pressure building before the financial mask slips. As the saying goes, the revolution won't be televised. Something's breaking, and gold's telling the story. It's the signal beneath the noise. But sure, keep arguing about flags, genders, and identity. Keep missing the real show, the slow collapse of the monetary system. Maybe that's what all this is. Managed decline. The slow erosion of trust, stability, and meaning. And the worst part? Most Aussies are too distracted to even notice. Weeks where decades happen aren't just history, they're now. Freedom doesn't disappear overnight. It gets chipped away, piece by piece, while Aussies are too busy fighting over things that don't matter, until one day, you look around, and you realise it's all gone. You can't rely on the government to save you, because the government is the one that's driving this. The only way out is if you stand on your own 2 feet. Think for yourself, build something real, because when the system starts to crumble, the only power we have left is personal responsibility. These are the weeks where decades happen. Whether we sleep through it or face it, it's up to us. Stay strong.